All right, well, adjusted NFL season win totals is not something that has existed since the dawn of time. It's only been the last few years. Before that, it was reserved for the back rooms. I used to call it this off-the-grid thing I used to do. It was generated at Lehman Brothers in New York, and it was like the most popular thing ever. Lots of money changed hands in those days until it was finally snuffed out because it just got to be too big. And now it's out in the open. It's legal. Adjusted season win totals in the NFL. It used to be, hey, here are your season win totals. The season starts. We'll grade them at the end of the year. Yeah, that's how it was for the history of most of the history of sports betting. Now we have them adjusted, and we like to look back on these and or check in and see if there's any value. You want to do it by conference? AFC? We'll do AFC here?
Yeah.
So the hardest, so the remaining strength of schedule, if you go to, all right, remaining strength of schedule in the National Football League, who's got the hardest remaining schedule? The answer to that question is, in terms of aggregate opponents' win percentage, Baltimore has the hardest remaining schedule, 597 aggregate opponent win percentage. Cincinnati is second hardest at 592, just percentage points behind that. Cincinnati has 10 games left. Cincinnati is currently 4-3. Currently 4-3. The Bengals' adjusted season win total is 9.5. So in order to exceed that, they've got to go. What is that? 6-4 the rest of the way. 6-4. It is slightly juiced at -145. I'd go over, despite that strength of schedule win percentage. I think the Bengals over is the play here. And I'll tell you why. If you go through this and you do the whole win-loss thing, which I know is always rife with pitfalls, but that's the one that I came to the conclusion I like the most on this, because I don't see how. Like when I was doing it, I was like, okay, I do that exercise, and I'm like, okay, their win total ought to be this then.
Yeah.
You do that for most teams, you're always disappointed because you're like, oh, they got this right. It's perfect.
Right. Yeah.
I didn't think that was the case for the Bengals. I thought their adjusted win total should be 10.5. They've got Buffalo this week, which I have them winning this game. Some people would disagree, but I have them winning this. But then they got home Houston, then at Baltimore, home Pittsburgh, at Jacksonville, home Indy, home Minnesota, at Pittsburgh, and they close at Kansas City, home Cleveland. I think 6-4 is not all that much to ask for this solid of a team down the stretch. I like the over, and I'll lay the -145.
I don't think it is either. That is one I checked out for sure. I mean, especially when you have talking about Kirk Cousins going down for the Vikings, right? That game gets easier against Minnesota. I'm chuckling over here because the one I isolated here on the top end for my under is the Bills. Who they're playing this week, but both you and I have Bengals bets, so this kind of already
will either look
sense.
very good or very bad.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So
Bills, by the way, third hardest remaining strength of schedule.
Yeah, third hardest remaining schedule. 9.5 the win total set at. You're getting plus money too on the under at +125 over at DraftKings right now. So 5 wins banked. You got to get 5 more at Cincinnati. Okay, you got home Denver, home Jets. Those are probably pretty good. But then you're at Philadelphia, at Kansas City, home against the Cowboys, at the Chargers. You got New England at home, okay. And you're at Miami. They got a brutal end of the schedule here, too. So that is – I was a little surprised to hear Eric Eager as high as he was on the Bills, especially since I kind of dove into this last night.
I was just going to follow up with that because Aaron Schatz, we talked about DVOA yesterday, same thing. He's got Buffalo way up there. So both Schatz and Eager have them still high up. This is after watching them basically play a month of poor football. And so I don't know how much of that is their priors still lingering, but that doesn't really pass the eye test. Though, on the other hand, if we saw them playing if they had a good game this week, we'd change our whole thoughts on it. We'd be like, oh, maybe they were right about it.
Yeah, I think this year, just me mentally, because I've gotten very excited about this team in years past. You know what I mean? I think I've just gotten to the point where they are what they are. Josh Allen's going to look incredible sometimes, and there's going to be games he throws 2-3 interceptions and buries them, and I just don't trust his health right now.
That's the fact that he has him as MVP. He's so adamant. He was like Josh Allen. as quick as he could answer.
I mean, he's their whole offense. I get he could win it. He absolutely could win. I don't think he's very healthy right now. I think he's dealing with multiple injuries. That's also part of the reason why I like the under on this one.
The interesting thing that got revealed in all of this, looking at strength of schedule, is think about the teams that we have as the most elite in the NFL. These are the these are the hardest 6 remaining strength of schedules. Baltimore, Cincinnati, Buffalo, Dallas, Miami, San Francisco, and for good measure, Seattle 7th. So, like, most of the good teams we have up there have the hardest remaining schedules in the NFL, and you're asking, okay, which of the elite teams don't have it quite as hard? Philadelphia, which has the hardest stretch of all of them, has the 12th hardest remaining schedule. That's because they close with 3 games with the Cardinals and the Giants. But until then, it's brutality. And then, like we said so many times with Jacksonville and with Detroit, whatever you think about Jacksonville and Detroit, they're coasting to their division titles.
Yep.
Because Jacksonville's got Jacksonville's in the bottom half, so they're 17th, so they're actually 492 opposing schedule, a strength of schedule. And Detroit, man, 4th easiest remaining schedule in all of football.
So I don't know. Did you have anything else in the AFC, or was your other one in the NFC?
Other ones in the NFC.
Okay, I'm going to go to the bottom end of the AFC because this is where my over was. I like the Texans over. I like the Texans over the 7.5 right now, and a lot of it's because of the schedule you just talked about. But you got 3 wins banked. Okay, so you got to get 5 more, right? Home against Tampa, at Cincinnati, Arizona on the schedule, Denver on the schedule, the Jets on the schedule, Titans on the schedule twice, the Colts on the schedule. I think that team could rack up 5 wins and get over that 7.5.
8th easiest remaining strength of schedule for the Houston Texans. Wow, imagine that. Would that mean DeMeco Ryans would be the coach of the year, or still Dan Campbell to you?
Ooh, good question.
I think you'd have to go DeMeco. I really do.
I mean, if you're betting one, there's a lot that correlated.
Yeah,
right.
See what the numbers are, of course. Okay, this is counterintuitive to remaining strength of schedule. When Kelly and I have looked at these adjusted season win totals, the biggest sort of thing that pops out is with these NFC South teams, I mean, they all play each other, so their strength of schedule is so easy. But the Falcons are at 9.5. 9.5, and they're currently 4-4. Okay?
Okay. Wait. Before you go down this road,
yes.
Can I just bring up how interesting it was looking at these and typing up the NFC-specific ones? Because you tossed the question at me, what was it, Monday or Friday? I can't even remember. Basically, of what are your 7 NFC playoff teams?
Yes.
These win totals alone tell you, well, we got 5 in there, someone from the NFC South, and then there is no 8.5 right now in the NFC.
Yeah.
There's 9.5 and 7.5. So a clear line of delineation.
Falcons have got to go 6-3 the rest of the way to go over that season win total. 6-3. Now, they have the easiest remaining strength of schedule in the NFL, as I mentioned, which is an aggregate win percentage of 377. 377.
That's incredible.
Just to let you know, here are the teams they got to play: the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Bears, the Colts, the Bucks. You know who their hard games are? The Vikings, the Jets, and 2 against the Saints. Those are their hard games. And yet, Kelly Bidlin, I would bet them under. Because listen, here's how the Taylor Heineke thing works when he plays. He has a game or 2 where you're like, oh, my God, they're so much better with Taylor Heineke. And then by game 3, you realize, oh, he can't throw the ball more than 45 yards downfield. And you're like, okay, well, it's cute. He'll win you a game or 2. But he doesn't do anything for you long-term. He's not your long-term solution. And they will go back to Desmond Ridder because of that once they see that chink in the armor. So if I go down this Atlanta Falcons schedule, and believe me, I did, I just don't see them winning 6. You're asking them to win 6 games. By the way, the under is appropriately juiced. The under is juiced. So the market is sort of reflecting what I'm saying here. I would lay the juice on this because here are their games. Home Minnesota, okay, they're favorite. Then at Arizona, then a bye. Home New Orleans, at Jets, home Tampa.
I'm just trying to figure out. It's obviously not going to be much, but they're going to be favored in most of these games.
Well, not that stretch after the bye. Home New Orleans, at the Jets, home Tampa. The market loves them, so you might be right. But the market's wrong half the time.
Home against Saints, it's probably a pick'em or Falcons 1-2 sort of thing, right? Jets are favored. At Jets are favored.
All right, but are you confident they're going to go 6-3?
No, not at all. Not at all. No.
Yeah, like that.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate a little bit because me and you are like the Falcons haters, I feel like, all the time.
Well, and the jury's still out, right? Because they're 4-4, so they're just kind of meh.
And once we get done with this whole season, Gil, how are you going to be able to judge this team going into the playoffs? Their best wins over the Texans. It's their best win.
Even if they're not going 6-3. I'd go under on them because there's just too many of these that are like, there's the margin for error is so thin.
That's what it is. So that's all.
That's what it is.
They're going to be favored in a lot of these games, but it's going to be less than 3, like 3 or less, where they're favored.
Even if they go 5-4, you win this under, and I just don't think this team is capable of being that. 6-3 is a lot to ask of a team who has to play New Orleans twice, has to go on the road to play the Jets, has to play Tampa. Indy's never that easy for a team of this caliber. That's an under to me.
Yeah, no, I would definitely be leaning that way too.
Yeah,
definitely leaning that way too. If this team gets in the playoffs, it's going to be so gross. You might be talking about their best win being over a Texans team. Right now it is.
Oh, somebody bad is getting in the playoffs in the NFC. Could be the Falcons. By the way,
a couple bad teams.
9-8 could get them in the playoffs. You could be right on the season win totals under, and they could still make the playoffs.
Yep.
Both of those things could be true.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.